Good morning and welcome to the Hardcore Mortgage Show, brought to you by Capital Mortgage Funding. I am Becky Alley and I am super bummed to be here on this amazing, beautiful Saturday, then a brisk winter day. To my right, I got my homie, our fearless leader, Mr. Harry Glanz.
Good morning, Beck. I love it. Becky, sunshine, beautiful out. It's great. And we have some special guests today.
I think it goes beyond special. I mean, you're talking two legends. They're leaders among leaders in the real estate community, podcast hosts, coaches, running teams. You got Mr. Kurt Shewell and Jimmy Fantastic Nelson.
Well, thank you very much for the warm welcome this morning.
Good morning, everybody. Very excited.
God. I thought my life was busy until I scrolled past your guys' social media and I was like, Jesus. like literally, like every time I see you, Kurt, you're like, I'm like, is he in Nova Scotia today? Like, I just don't even know where this man is at.
The great thing about talking to Kurt is it's always sunny in Kurt's world. All right, he's a very positive individual. There's no negativity. It's upbeat. It's, hey, let's get going. What can we do more? And I really appreciate that because you know what? There's enough doom and gloom. Why do that? Why walk around on this earth doing that when we can have a great conversation, all of us, and spread some cheer and really spread some knowledge, which is what this show's all about.
Oh, yeah. And we're going to be taking all your calls all morning long, 248-539-9797. We want to hear from you, whether you're buying, you're selling, you're refinancing, you want to talk about life. We're here for you. So give us a call. It's big game weekend. And before we kick off, I need to know what's your guys' picks.
Ooh. Well, I'm kind of really torn, so I like the over.
That's such a neutral answer.
Yeah, I know. Non-committal.
What about you?
You know, I'm a Philly guy. I want the Eagles to win. My man Jalen Hurts. That's
Jimmy's an Alabama guy. That's
yeah,
why.
Alabama guy. So
on account of Stoney, who's from Philly, and who's one of the guys in this radio station. I want him to be happy, so I want the Eagles to win. Fly, Eagles, fly.
Yeah, I think I'm with the Eagles, too. I mean, don't get me wrong. Mahomes, he's a great young quarterback, and they're going to give us fun and exciting things to look at. But I think I'm going with the Eagles myself as well.
Yeah, I think the Eagles have the defense, right? The Chiefs, you can score 100 points on the Chiefs, but the Chiefs can score 101 against you, right?
Well, I'm actually rooting for the Lions in this, too, because first game of the year, Lions could have beaten the Eagles, and it's an NFC team.
That's right.
So I'm going with the NFC. I'm going with who the Lions almost played. It's our year next year, so I got the Eagles.
All right. Well, no doubt it's going to be fun and wild and exciting to watch, kind of like what this real estate market has been doing over the last year. I feel
very fun to watch.
Yes, it's been. I also feel like people were sitting back over the last year, the end of last year. There was a lot of people being wallflowers, and they're starting to get into it, and I want to hear from your guys' perspective. What are you guys seeing in that? Because from my side, you had this little moment where it was under asking, you could get concessions, and then that last 2 weeks of the year falling into this one, it's just spring has sprung, in my opinion.
It's here, right? We were talking about even this morning. And thank you for the positivity stuff. I agree. How in the world can you not see all the positive stuff that's going on in this market? Mm-hmm. The market is heating up like crazy. We're getting multiple offers. Jimmy, you can talk more about that on some stuff we were working on yesterday. But what you have is the doom and gloom with the media, and that's the part that drives us nuts. The media right now is a fantastic time to buy a house, but yet the media will tell you, oh, don't buy. And it's funny. And then when the prices are through the roof where you're overpaying, they're like, oh, God, go buy a house. And you're like, it's actually the worst time to buy a house. Mm-hmm. So they always give you the opposite of the direction that you should be going. So it's a pretty interesting thing. Love to hear from some callers because the truth is right now, it's such a great time. The market did go to slow down, right? Because everybody's like, oh, my gosh. There still is an inventory shortage on the selling side, right? So listings are still scarce, which is great because you can pick out a really nice house and get yourself a nice deal right now. You can not overpay for a house. You can get a house at a great price. People are willing to really work together. However, there are a lot of people looking to buy houses. We had that little downturn. You get the end of the year, you get Christmas. You know, when you're fighting Santa Claus, it's hard to get people out there.
I call it holiday-itis, right? Where everyone they just check out mentally.
What you call the hangover?
Yeah, the holiday hangover. There's three people you can't fight. fight. You can't fight Mother Nature. Can't fight Father Time. You can't fight Santa Claus.
You can't fight
All right, so you got
Can't
all
fight
that going
Santa.
against you, right? They're all undefeated.
Yeah,
They're all undefeated.
About
The Eagles thing, you can throw snowballs at Santa Claus.
Well,
I mean,
that's-
yeah, that too.
Yeah, that's true
yeah,
too.
we're old
But
enough to remember that game.
Right.
Yeah, and then I think what you have is you have that little holiday hangover, which is typical, right? And then people get their credit card bills in January, and they start freaking out in the second week of January. So then there's that little lull. Then it started to pick up, and we were talking this morning. You know, Harvey made a great point. We had this big snowstorm, which we get, right? That's where we live. And then as soon as all of a sudden the snow started to melt, the sun came out one day, and bam! All of a sudden, like the market just turned like a faucet, just turned it on, and we are seeing a ton of business right now. A lot. We sold 74 homes last month just on our team. And when we last year, greatest market in history, we sold 71 in January. So we actually sold 3 houses more this year in this, oh my God, is the sky falling? No, it's not falling. My goodness, it's a great time to buy.
I want to touch on that real quick. So mortgage applications are up 3%, this week alone, but year over this week, last week, you're down. This year, last year, I should say, you're down 37% overall. But to your point, right? Those that are in the mud, the ones that are doing the work, you're not seeing those changes because the people that were struggling, the professionals that were also on the sidelines watching it. So you did have some real estate professionals and mortgage professionals that over the last, end of last year, they were also sitting back and watching what the market was doing. And you can't expect to be a part of the business and witness it. You have to be participating in it. And I feel like a lot of people are like, oh, I'm slow. Well, you're slow because the market changed and you didn't adapt to that. And I want to get into the point of you're really, really good. Both of you are really good at seeing that talent, building people individually, building these teams, growing them. And I want you guys both to I have 2 different questions for you. So I'm going to start with you, Kurt.
Yep.
How is it that, because you're not creating a body factory and, how
Correct.
are you really getting into these people and diving into them to really pull out the greatness in them? So therefore they're not experiencing this downtime like other people are experiencing. I
think in real estate, thank you, Becky, and great question. I think what the first thing you have to look at is, when you're building up people, it's got to be about them, and not everybody's one size fits all. So we've got to customize what it is that you want. So we talk about goals and stuff. I disagree so much with the goal because usually the path to get there falls you short, and they don't have a path to get there. So it's really the path. So if you can give somebody a path to success and give a path to get to the levels that they want to be at and level up, it's going to change things. So the first thing you have to do is you have to start with production, right? What do we have to do to get you more production and be more productive? What happens is everybody's busy. Harry, how's it going? Oh, man, I'm so busy. You ask any real estate agent on the planet, I don't care if they sold 4 homes last year or 40.
busy being busy. I can't
They're
stand
all
it.
busy.
I'm
right?
busy being
How about,
busy.
Yeah, how
Busy
about we
versus
start being
productive.
busy being productive?
Yes,
Right?
snaps
so let's
for
not,
that.
Yeah, let's not be busy. Let's be productive because productive people are extremely busy, but they'll always have time for more production. And that's what's the difference. So the people that are succeeding are always looking for more, where the people that are not are always looking for less. And this goes to that positivity mindset. So I role play every single morning. And what I do, to your point, was, yes, I built a really big team, but I've also built a huge organization across the country. So I have 3,000 agents across the country that I help, that I service, that I make sure that their production levels are up, that make sure that they're all succeeding, and making sure they're giving everybody a great experience. The first thing you have to remember is the other real estate agent on the side of the deal is not your enemy.
Yeah.
This is your partner on the deal.
Yeah.
Right? You got to understand your players in the game. You can't sell these by yourself. So if you've got the listings, you need other agents to bring you the buyers. If you've got buyers, you need other agents to have listings. So I want to put my listings together with my sellers with your buyers and my sellers. And that's how I want to make this happen. So I really want to work with the other agent. And what I found was if I could really boost up the other agent and help them out, because a lot of agents need a little bit more guidance, a little bit more help, because where they're at, they don't have it. So we provided a platform. We do. Every morning we coach with agents. I do this with Jimmy. Every single morning we have a coaching platform for every single real estate agent out there to understand how to service your client better, how to increase your production. So that's really where we go.
Yeah, I mean, and I talk about it a lot too. We are experienced professionals creating experiences for our clients. And whether that is on the buy side or the seller side, it is very important that, we all understand that we're on the same team, rowing in the same direction. But for the most part, I do feel like agents have, kind of stopped the combativeness. But sometimes you will get that one agent that is just off on their own island. They're just making everyone feel crazy, and it's just like, stop, we don't need to go down that road because we want to get this transaction closed for everybody,
100%.
obviously.
And there's two sides to it, right? Because you guys are on the other side, which is an asset to the realtor. Right. And it's so funny when I talk to realtors, like, well, this lender. Well, hold on. Where are your relationships at? You have to have your lenders. You have to know who the good lenders are, right? Your mortgage partner is exactly a partner, and that's why you call it that. Because if you're not leveraging your mortgage partners, and if you're a realtor out there and you're accepting offers and you haven't talked to their lender, then you need to help these people out, because you've got to get them with the right lenders. You got to get with the right people, because if you can leverage the lender is the one who can close the deal. Who's
We're bringing the money.
The deal?
Sorry, well, I was saying, who's bringing the money?
Yeah, we're bringing
Who
the
is
money.
bringing the
At
money?
the end of the day, right?
Yeah,
So if you're
we've got the wall. We're bringing the money, and we're that relationship.
We're the 95% investor now.
Yeah, I don't want to go into that math, but
Yeah.
somebody's putting down 5%. We're bringing 95%. They get to live there for 30 years. I mean, you tell me who's got the better.
Sounds like a good deal.
Who's got the better end of the deal? But you talk about coaching, and you talk about talent. You don't coach everybody the same way. You coach people differently, different individuals differently. But the best thing and the most constant is, you said it, you have to show somebody a path for success. And if you can give examples or show them people and what they're doing, people are visual. They need to see that path to success. And we have found that if you could show somebody a way and then explain it to them, because people don't want to believe you.
Correct.
They think it's easy. They think you wake up after 30 years and you're successful. It takes a lot to be successful, but there are daily disciplines you need to go through, and I'm sure you teach that.
Yeah, I say it all
Success
the time.
leaves clues.
I'm an overnight success. It only took me 35 years to get there.
Yeah, I'm on my 19th first year. All right, Jimmy, I do want to ask you a question. So as far as like your guys' coaching, you really have built this platform. You have your podcast. It's Free for All Fridays. I did catch a couple of those episodes. They're amazing. I can't wait. I'm going to actually invite myself on your podcast. It's fine. But what is some advice that you can give to newer agents, or what are you saying to the newer agents, or even the experienced agents? Because sometimes experience doesn't win in this market, that are stuck. What are you guys doing to get them out of that old mentality of like, oh, well, it was so busy, and it just, you got to hunt a little bit, and people didn't learn those skill set over the last 10 years.
Yeah, and it kind of goes back to what Harry was saying too. It's finding out what their goals are.
Yeah.
Right, because not everybody's goals are the same. Right, mine are different than Kurt's. Kurt's are different than yours. Mine are different than Harry's. So everybody's are different, and it's finding out what that is. And then Kurt and I talk about this a lot too. It's like our GPS, right? You get in your car, you put in directions, and you just follow where it goes. If you can get agents to start doing that, if I can find out what their end goal is, plug that into the GPS and get them down that path to get to where that goal is, that's the ultimate thing.
Yeah, you kind of got to work in reverse, don't you?
Yeah.
You got to set the goal, and then you work in reverse to achieve that. I mean, that's how we have found it to be successful. But like I said, that's not a one-size-fit-all category. You've got to really dive into that personality of the person that you're trying to coach.
Yeah, and that's one thing I do. I do a lot of 90-day business planning with agents. But I look at what their year goal is and then chunk that down into quarters, months, weeks, days. Because you can't eat an elephant at one bite. So you have to figure out
one at a time.
Yeah, one at a time, right? What does my day look like, right? And then let's plan out what every day should look like to lead you to that end goal.
Well, because leaders see reality, and it's whether it's good, it's bad, but it's finding the possibilities within that and what's going to lead people to success. And not everyone has that kind of mentality. And that's why when you guys are in this room, I feel the energy, and I'm really, really excited. So we're up against our first break. When we come back, we're going to be talking about interest rates. What is this LLPA new panic that's happening right now? And do people prefer permanent buy downs or temporary buy downs? Call in 248-539-9797. We'll be right back.
Perfect.
Good.
It's too quick.
Yeah, I know,
Yeah.
right?
So I don't have, when I talk to these guys.
close that deal, and then we can boost you guys up a little bit.
Welcome back to the Hardcore Mortgage Show. I am Becky Alley with the legends, Kirk Shewell and Jimmy Fantastic Nelson. If you haven't checked out it's Free for All Fridays, right? Where can they find you?
Anywhere you can find podcasts. Anywhere you can find podcasts. You can find us on Facebook and Instagram, and we're on iHeartRadio. We're on Apple Podcasts. We're on Spotify, Stitcher. Wherever you find podcasts, you can find Free for All Fridays.
All right, cool. Well, you can find his podcast the same place you can find the Hardcore Mortgage Podcast, which is also everywhere. And if you're not able to drive in your car, you also can always check us out live on Facebook. Where right now, I'm checking you guys out right now. It's fun. It's exciting. So if you're watching us, give us a call right now because we want to hear from you. And before the break, I kind of alluded that we're going to talk about, specialty programs and what really are preferring or people are preferring. And there's a lot of advertisement of these temporary buy downs, and it's kind of been, utilized of you can get your rate temporary lower. And how that basically works is you basically would get concessions from a seller and your rate would be temporarily reduced by 2%. So the first year it could be 4%, second year it's going to be 5%, and then the third year goes to the original amateur's rate.
So the key word you used in that sentence, Becky, is temporarily.
Yes.
Okay, it is a temporary situation. It has become, in the mortgage and lending industry and across real estate, the program du jour. Now, you know how we feel about the program du jour with the super fun Happy Meal, ARM programs, and everything like that. I think there's a time and a place for it, and I think if it really benefits people, but just because you heard that somebody's on a buy-down program, a buy-down mortgage, doesn't mean it's right for you, because it's going to get higher. Whether it's after the first year or after the second year, the rate is going to be higher than what the current market rate is right now. So you have to do the math. If somebody's paying for it for you for the first year or two, and you do the math and you go ahead and you do the division, you figure out how many months it's going to take for you to break even, and then you're going to have to start paying more, it's got to work for you. So that's why it's called a temporary buy down. And I just really have to sit down with people and go over it with them. And then guess who gets to make the decision? They do. They make the decision.
Well, here's what. The decision that people are making is they want the permanent buy downs, not the temporary buy downs. So
they want the permanent rate.
Yeah, so 50%
funky rate
of the interest rates that are happening right now, people are paying points on average of at least 1%, but 50% of them have opted to do the permanent buy down, and less than 3% have done these overly advertised temporary buy downs. Why? Because it doesn't make sense to everybody. And in some cases, I feel like it's just that bait and switch, because you got uneducated people and lenders that are selling rate, not the problems that they solve. And that's where the real issue, I think, in my opinion,
is.
You
guys got to calm me down. I'm so aggravated right now. I'm aggravated. So you guys go. I'm aggravated.
All right, how about this?
I don't like it.
Positivity we were talking about earlier,
yeah,
right?
but that's why I have to keep it inside.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, that's why I wanted to talk about that, because
anybody.
you just hear about it so much, and I just wanted to debunk that bet that the permanent buy downs right now really are literally, it's blowing out any kind of these specialty programs that are just used to advertise, to just kind of calm the scarcity of minds, because unfortunately people are reactionary.
All right, let me be the voice of the client out there. So if you're outside right now listening, you're in your car, you're at home, you're listening to this, you're on the podcast, right? You're everywhere, because we're everywhere. Think about this. It's really simple, because a lot of what you guys said, if I'm just the average novice person out there saying, wait a minute, I don't understand what half of that means. That's the point. It gets confusing. And for real estate agents, your agent isn't an expert on this. Let's be clear. If you're talking to your real estate agent, they can guide you slightly, but remember, they're not the mortgage expert. These guys are the mortgage experts. You want to know how this works? Do exactly what Harry was talking about. Get on the phone with these guys. What they're going to do is they're going to explain to you very simply, step by step, here are the options, here's what they look like. If you understand the money part of this, buying the house becomes very simple, very easy. If you're a realtor out there and you're listening to this show, like us or not, the truth is, and you know this, you've got to lean on your partners. Your mortgage partners are the experts in it. Stop trying to sell the mortgage. I'm not the guy that should be running around going, hey, you need a 2-1 buy down, and here's how this works. You know, if you put this down and you do this, blah, 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 that's what it sounds like, right?
Yeah.
I sound like Peanuts, the teacher from Charlie Brown, right? Wah, 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 wah. Because they're looking at you, and here's the problem. Agents, you think your people, because they said yes to you, are understanding. They're not.
They're not.
The client does not understand. They're saying yes because they don't want to feel foolish to say, I don't have a clue what you just said.
Plus, they they don't know how to ask. Most of the consumers and our listeners, they don't know the questions to ask other than, well, what's your rate?
Correct. Right. What's the first thing? Hey, how's it going, Harry? What's your rate?
What's your rate today? Oh, yeah,
right?
yeah. But then they're getting quoted this artificially temporary rate, and they're thinking, oh, it's good, because rates are really 6.5 to 6 3/4 right now. All right, so somebody's telling them it's 5.5.
Yep.
They don't understand. They've got to pay to get that rate to 5.5.
Right.
And if it's a temporary buy down, it's only good for a year.
Yep.
On the real estate side, Jimmy, we get asked all the time. It's the first question everybody asks you. Jimmy, you're real estate.
Yeah.
What's the first question they ask you?
What's the rates? What's the market like? Right?
Yeah.
That's the first
How's the market? What's the rate?
I heard the market is it's not great.
Yeah.
Right.
Well,
No.
We even talk to people too. They're like, "You're in real estate, right?" I'm like, "Yeah," and they're like, "Oh man, how's it going? Are things okay?" I'm like, "Things are great, man. What are you talking about?" Right?
Yeah,
Like,
because it's that scarcity mindset. But the reason why I'm bringing this up is, for everyone out there that's listening, and again, give us a call, 248-539-9797. I want to hear from you today about this. But there's more that goes into an interest rate than just calling someone up. There's credit scores. What are you putting down? What kind of house are you buying? Is it a condo? Is it a manufactured home? Is it a multi-unit? So you can't just go around calling people and get a rate, because eventually someone, like Harry said, they will tell you what you want to hear just to get you to give them, give up your hostage money, as some of these companies do.
Give the $500 deposit so they can jack it on your credit card.
But in reality, there's much more that goes into what what an interest rate's going to be, and that ties me into the new panic that I just recently heard. And I bring this up because Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac have announced their new loan level pricing adjustments. And what a loan level pricing adjustment is, how the interest rate is affected based off of your credit score, what you're putting down, all of the things, right? It's like will make your mind explode. So our job is to uncomplicate the complicated. But the reality is that these new adjustments that I actually got a phone call from real estate agents about this, saying they're predicting doom and gloom. I'm like, when are they not predicting doom and gloom? Like, the reality of these new adjustments is actually just pointing out something that we've always known. 20% down does not always equate to a better interest rate. Exactly. Sometimes the sweet spot is 5% down. Sometimes the sweet spot is 10% down, but it's always never really been at that 20%. I do want you, Harry, to kind of chime in. What is, a loan level pricing adjustment, that I'm not maybe eloquently describing, perhaps?
No, you're doing a great job. And it's Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, the government-sponsored entities are putting this in effect. So all lenders, and let me repeat this, all lenders, from the mortgage brokers, mortgage bankers, banks, credit unions, all lenders are going to be affected by this. So in essence, what's going to happen is there are going to be changes to the way loans are going to be priced, to interest rates based on loan to value, how much money you're putting down, your credit score, the price of a home. Is it a purchase or a refinance? There's going to be all these adjustments, again, loan level price adjustments, and everybody's going to be affected by it. So it's not just, hi, Becky Alley, yeah, what's the interest rate on a 30-year fixed? It's not that. There's going to be a lot, and there's 5 or 6 pages that have come out on this. We have charts.
I got them, everyone, Facebook land right here.
We have charts. We have charts this long on what's happening. So please, and again, we like to say this, we're going to do the entire industry a favor here. If this is a public service announcement, you got to do your homework if you're a lender and you're a realtor on what's going on in the market, because it's taking effect right now, because there are also certain lock periods, right, Becky, where you get to lock your rate. You can lock it for 15 days, 30 days, 45 days, 60 days, 90 days. So all this will take into account. You have to take it into account for what your rate is going to be and what you're trying to do, purchase or refinance.
Yeah, so depending on when you're locking in. But again, this is why you have to heed on stay in your lane and heed on the professionals. We're going to educate you. The silver lining is this, though. If you're a first-time home buyer, you will not be affected by any of these things, because the point of really what this was trying to do is to help these first-time home buyers that have been literally getting pummeled, and we're going to kick it back over to you on this. The first-time home buyers that are competing with this move-up buyers, with the investors, with the people that are coming from the outside, because metropolitan Detroit is still very affordable in comparison to Colorado and California and New York, right? So there was a silver lining to what they're trying to do. The only one that I do not agree with, though, is the adjustment if your ratio is over 40%. That's the only one that I personally don't agree with. But again, we're always doing these ever-changing, dealing with it. And that's why I was like, when is it not doom and gloom? It's always going to be something changing in our market. And and I know, Jimmy, I see you shaking your head. If you don't have your ear to the ground, you're already behind.
Yeah, for sure. And that's the thing, right? If you're not paying attention to what's going on, right? If you're just kind of just not looking at what's happening outside. But the biggest thing is the relationship with your lenders, right? And have those conversations with your lenders, your preferred lenders, and have those conversations. You don't have to know as an agent everything about the mortgage, right? You need to know very surface level, right? Enough to get your client to the professional, right? So that's one of the biggest things, I think. And then getting information from your lenders, getting information from you guys to have that, be able to take that back to your client. And because the clients don't know. They don't know. All their thing is, what's your rate?
Yeah.
And
The
then
landscape's
everybody's
changed,
rates are
right,
the same.
Jimmy? The landscape has changed on both sides of the equation. It's changed in real estate.
Yes.
It's changed in mortgage lending, and it goes really, really quick. And you could be getting, a lot of misinformation out there. So you really have to go to somebody that's studying this on a daily basis.
Yeah.
Market's completely different. Maybe we come back at the next break. We can talk about that. There's a massive shift in the industry itself. I'd love to talk about that.
Yes, we're definitely. That's actually that's a perfect segue. So keep it right here, 248-539-9797. We're going to hear back really what is this shift. And shift does happen, and the only thing that stays the same is change. So let's talk about it when we come back. Welcome back. You're listening to the Hardcore Mortgage Show, brought to you by Capital Mortgage Funding. We are powered by Fairway Independent Mortgage Company. MLS number 2289. We are an equal housing lender, and we are here to answer all your calls all morning long. We got another 30 minutes left with these amazing people, so do not miss your opportunity to hear from the legends himself, Mr. Kurt Shewell, Jimmy Fantastic Nelson. I want to call you Jimmy Jam, but I know there's already a Jimmy Jam. But
I've been called worse. So
I mean, I love it. I love a good name. So I was like, all right, Jimmy Fantastic Nelson, I see you out here.
Why is this fantastic thing coming up, right? But it's the podcast, right?
Yeah.
So my partner on the podcast is Johnny Awesome. So I had to become Jimmy Fantastic. I didn't know what else to do. So
Hey, man, if it's working,
Yeah.
stick
That's
with
right.
it.
That's right.
If it's
the
working,
only
stick
one it
with
doesn't
it.
work on is my
Right.
wife. My wife's like, I'm never calling you Jimmy Fantastic.
Hey, well, you can't be a prophet in your own home. That's the
Right.
problem.
That's it.
You can. You got to be like normal and be like, stop it. I don't care what you have to say.
Right.
Well, before the break, I know, Kurt, you're trying to get into it, and I want to kick it right back to you because obviously, like, you're all about positivity. You're all about looking at things through that perspective and that lens of clarity. And it's a special gift that a lot of people don't have. And it's really just setting the tone, right? Because you have a lot of people that are uncertain, and there's a lot of false information. There's a lot of, table talk banter of what the news is, and it's doom and gloom. So I want you to kind of shed a real light on what truly is happening in this shifting market and what people need to understand.
Well, thanks. One of the things is, and you kind of alluded to it with what you said, you can't be a prophet in your own market. So if I get on a grandstand and beat my chest, people are going to go, oh, I'm not listening to you. When in fact, I could have the best song out there. The problem is how do you get that message out? And what's happening is there's so much, white noise out there when you go to the internet. So first things first, if somebody asks you for money up front before they've helped you, what are you doing? I mean, that should be the first red flag.
Run
right?
away.
Right?
Yep.
No, Harry, when's the last time you asked somebody for money up front
No,
before
never.
you help them?
We don't do that.
Never,
It's
right?
just not something that's in our DNA.
No.
And here's the
of
thing,
course
and
not.
I'll kick it right back to you, but just another to that point. If someone is asking what your APR and stuff like that is, a mortgage application fee, it's not included in the APR. So someone's fees could be higher, but an application fee that you're collecting, that someone else is collecting up front, is not truly in your APR. So it's an artificially, like the number that can be typically hidden. So again, if someone is trying to collect money from you up front just for a phone call, you need to reevaluate that conversation.
Listen, get a breakdown of the costs. Every lender is obligated to give you a breakdown line by line item by line item, a breakdown of what the costs are. Get it up front. If you're shopping around, listen, get it up front. That's all you have to do.
No doubt about it. I think what's getting lost in the mix and it's that next Generation Z, right? They're coming up and they're coming through. So these are your 19 to 26-year-olds. Typical, the average sale of person's first new home right now is 26 years old. So at 26-year-olds, you start thinking about this. Where are they at? Where do they live? We say meet our clients where they are. Well, let's talk about that. If we're meeting our client where they are, that client who's our next generation coming through, they're all online. Mm-hmm. They're not coming into real estate offices. They're not walking into a mortgage lender's office. They're not coming that way. Most of these bankers are online. They're not even local to have that. So to have an institution like you guys have for 30, 40 years is impressive, and that should say something to somebody, because if you stand the test of time, there's a reason for it. It's because of the customer service, and what's lacking today is the ability to have the right customer service. Am I asking the right questions? Am I getting what really matters to my client, or am I talking at them? So if you're a client out there, please call in and throw some stuff at us. We'd love to. We got the real estate side, we got the mortgage side. These guys are incredible experts in this, so let's talk. But the reality is, if they're talking at you, they're not helping you. If it's not about you, then they're missing the boat. One of the training classes we do, step number one of my boot camp is it's not about you. And agents say that all the time. Oh yeah, I get it. And then I say, okay, here, sell me this piece of paper, sell me a paperclip, sell me a pen. And the problem is they're selling. The first thing we have to do if we want to sell more homes, we want to help more people, stop selling and start helping. Mm-hmm. If I'm not asking you 100 questions, and please understand, when we're asking the questions, is because we need to understand what matters to you and what you're looking for. One size does not fit all. And the shift right now today is everything is online. Everything is cloud-based. Now, in fairness, I work for a cloud-based real estate brokerage. Mm-hmm. It's exactly what's happening. Well, the cloud-based companies, the Zillows of the world, these third-party companies, what are they doing? They're capturing all the client. They have no knowledge. Be clear on this, right? Home Light and all these commercials, you see the infomercials. Oh, my God. We have people that will work for a discount. We're just giving away money, and everyone loves you, and you're going to get the best. Really? Who works for free? Nobody.
Right.
Right? Their job is not to get you the best of anything. Not that they're bad people. They're good marketing people. They want to get you, and they're going to sell you off to somebody who will pay them. So remember this. So what are you looking for? If you really want to get what you need, you've got to talk to people. And don't be afraid to talk to 2 or 3 people, right? The good lenders are not afraid of you shopping them. Please do. Matter of fact,
Yes.
they're begging you to, because people typically stick with the first person they talk to. They're being sold. Please stop being sold. Right?
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, millennials and that 25 to 35, they are making up the biggest market share, 43%. I mean, you're talking 43 million that are entering that buyer's market. And the reality is that they are being a little bit, because they are being a little bit sold, but technology is not going to replace real estate or mortgage professionals. But the ones that are not properly utilizing that technology are going to be overlooked. And the point is that, Capital Mortgage Funding and you guys as well, like you have to be constantly evolving. You have to meet the client where you need to meet them. If they
100%.
if they understand technology, then we're going to be texting and emailing. But if someone is, in their 50s and 60s, well, guess what? I'm going to be sitting across them. We are a national giant company, but we're very boutique. You don't feel how big we are because you're able to look at me and talk to everyone on our staff. But that is a valid point, because if you're finding something online and you're not speaking to someone, how does Zillow know your value? What? You never been to my house, Zillow? How do you know?
But everybody
let's
goes
remember-
to this estimate, right?
Yeah.
That's my
Yeah.
biggest headache, and I tell people all the time. If even my own parents, when they were looking for a house, I said, here's I'm going to put you on this thing called a search. Go right here. You're going to see everything you need to see. I have every home on the market here, and ones that people can't see. And what do? Well, Zestimate said, I'm like, oh, you're driving me nuts. Are you kidding me? These are my own parents.
So there's that big push. Artificial intelligence is taking over the world. So Becky and I were talking to somebody yesterday, and one of the first questions she asked us, I think it was her second question, she said, tell me about your technology. Can people apply online? Will you still meet with people? Can they do it via text? Can they do it by... How do you communicate with people? And Becky eloquently said to her, listen, we do it. We have every platform. If you want to do it online, we can do it online, but we're still going to call you and talk to you. We'll meet with you in person. We'll go to the local coffee house and go ahead and sit down with you. How you have to be... That just levels the playing field. If you're not doing all that, you're behind.
Yeah.
It's not a feather in your cap if you're doing it, because everybody should be doing it, right?
Yeah.
So that's what we're talking about.
And that's why you don't get lost, Jimmy. So,
Yeah. One of the things
Yeah.
that I like to tell agents is to ask their clients, what's my best way to communicate with you? How do I best communicate with you? Is it text? Is it email? Is it phone call? What's my best way to text you? Because you do have clients at different levels of technology.
Yeah.
Right? Some prefer a phone call. And the funny part is agents are like, they want me to call them. Like, I know. Call them.
Yeah. Oh my God. Well, I saw a video that you did, and what we're kind of alluding to is people can only relate to you based off where they're at in their own life sometimes.
Yeah.
And when you're going through a home buying experience, it can be very emotional. So it is important to make sure you're with people that are empathetic to what you're going through, because we've been through the last roller coaster. I mean, think about it. We're coming from the lowest lows, the rates we've ever seen, to now the highest rate hikes that we've ever seen. And it's just true that the pendulum swings both ways at any given moment. So I saw a video that you put out, Jimmy, about making it a memorable experience. Right. And I like that, because it is really, if you can really tap into that, you don't have to worry about someone calling 3-4 other people, because they're going to stay with you because they're going to remember you.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, if my client goes somewhere else and they use a different agent, that's my fault. That's my fault, because I didn't communicate with them on their level. Right? I didn't do the things that was going to make me memorable to them. They just went back to Zillow and found another agent, and then they went and used that other agent. That's on me, because I didn't make them feel special, and I didn't make them feel like I knew what they wanted. And so that goes back to what Kurt and I were talking. We talk about this all the time on the morning call, especially too, is asking more questions. Because the more questions you ask and the more information you get from your clients, the easier it is to communicate with them.
Yeah.
Right? The simple question of, what's the best way for me to communicate with you? And they let me know. So then that's where I just focus. I just focus on where can I meet them and where's going to be their happy place.
Yep.
Then I just keep them happy.
Because everyone is unique. Every mortgage is
Everyone.
unique. Every home
Everyone.
is unique. And it's about curiosity over assumptions all day long.
Well, if you ask a client straight out, what's the most important thing? Do you want me to do what I did for somebody else, or do you want me to do what's important to you?
Yeah.
Would you like it to fit yours, or would you like to fit with somebody else's?
What's your soup du jour? I'll have that.
Hey, Kurt, let me ask you a question. When you're talking to all these agents and you're coaching them, you're training them up, do you guys ever get into the rates or the Fed talk or what's going on in the economy, or it just doesn't come into play because it really doesn't matter to you guys, right? It just doesn't matter, right?
Our job, right? This is the truth, right? The deal's done on two sides, right? You're providing the money, right? And I always refer to it as you guys get to see everybody naked, right? I get to see them dressed up at the ball. We get to go and do the happy thing. We get to go.
I call it naked and afraid.
So
that's
naked
spot
and
on.
afraid, right?
Oops.
Yeah, but the truth is, right? No, you're right. It doesn't. What do? We get to go show them the shiny object. Oh my gosh, look at my dream, right? I used to, for years, I called myself the sleep doctor because I would help people sleep well at night in their favorite homes. So that was my little shtick, right?
Yeah.
Well, the truth is, you guys are the ones that have to provide the money. You need the real details. You need the information. You need to know what's really going on with them. Do you have a job? Do you get paid X dollars? What is your credit? I don't have to go down that path with them. So typically, right, we don't have those discussions. We'll talk about it. Now, a lot of real estate agents, they ask me all the time, well, Kurt, I'm never going to go out and show somebody a house unless I know they're pre-approved. Okay, well, first of all, to your point here, we were talking offline on this. You could do that in a few minutes with a conversation with the client, really get a couple of pieces of information and make that happen. And you can do it, and it's free. It doesn't cost anything, right? So you can be the benefit to making sure that we can
Well,
do
that's
that.
music to my ears because sometimes people get out of their lane.
Always.
And we want to stay in our lane. I don't want to sell houses. Becky doesn't want to sell houses. We just want to do loans. Correct. And that's what we know. We provide that service. But I'm glad because it's just a bunch of noise out there. The Fed talk, the economy, all that. Now, does it play a part if people can afford to buy a home? Of course it does. But people bought homes when interest rates were double digits. The history of our country, and rates have gone up, they've gone down, they've stayed the same. That's the three things interest rates do. They were buying them when they were 18% in 1981, 82, and they're buying them in 1988 when they were 12 3/4, and they're buying them now when they're 6.5, 6 3/4.
Yeah, I say it like this. If you bought something on sale, did you get a better deal?
You still got what you got.
Okay, great. Well, when the mortgage rates were on sale, did you get a better deal?
Yeah.
Did
Right.
it stop you from buying gas tomorrow because it's not as good a deal? Did it stop you from buying the next clothes because it's not a good deal? No, you buy it and you find what's right for you, and then you find the house, you find the mortgage.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I agree with that. I feel like if someone asks me what the rates are, I really don't care what the rates are because I'm going to always focus on what I can control, which is the client experience. And that's why I love you guys being in the room because this is what we're preaching. So give us a call, 248-539-9797. Do not be shy. We're up to our last break, and we will be right back. Welcome back, everybody. It is February 11th, 2023, and you are listening to the Hardcore Mortgage Show. And we are joined today by Jimmy Nelson, Kurt Shewell, Mark Z Team. You literally can find them anywhere. I feel like if you don't know them, then you need to get to know them. And part of getting to them will be giving us a call. We definitely want to hear from you. So 248-539-9797. And I want to get into like that cliche, like I'm done with it. I have to retire it. So it was marry the house, date the rate, was abused like to the worst capacity. So now let's just move into, let's just divorce rent. How about that? The conversation needs to be about divorcing rent, because if you're not buying, you're renting. And if you're renting, you are not capitalizing on what could be the biggest, best investments for yourself in your future.
Yeah, I think we're experiencing right now what's happening in the online world. So versus people calling directly, but I'm getting a lot of, and my phone's been kind of lighting up through the whole show, and there's about 7 or 8 different people that ask questions. So if they're a little shy, maybe calling, a little stage fright for calling in on the show, maybe I could throw this one at you guys. Here's one that just came up. So is there a 14-day window to shop lenders?
It's actually longer than that. So there's a lot of misnomers there of what that free window is. So there's 2 different credit score models out there. There's the free ones, like which is going to be your Credit Karmas, your Quizzles, or whatever. And then there's the actual real bona fide FICO scores. So when you do a hard pull, you actually have 45 days to shop lenders, and it's going to count as one inquiry against you. So you can speak to me, and I encourage you to speak to someone else, because if you speak to me, you're going to be coming back to me because you feel the difference, you see the difference, you hear the difference. But you do have more than, you can talk to one person, one hit, because a mortgage inquiry is completely different than you going to Lowe's and Home Depot and shopping for the best 0% credit card or something like that. So mortgage inquiries for sure are different. So 45 days is actually the real timeline that you have.
And again, Kurt, we will not charge you hostage deposit money to go ahead and get that credit report, to get that consultation, to give you all the information that you need. We will not charge your credit card.
And here's another thing is a mortgage inquiry is the most minuscule effect of your credit score of all of them. What's really going to, because people are like, oh, I don't want you to put my credit, I don't want to affect it. Well, I'm a psychopath about my credit as well. You have to be vigilant when you have good credit, and credit does come into when you're buying anything, a house, car, whatever. But the biggest thing that's going to affect you is overextending your credit limits and missing payments. So if you are trying to buy a house, you don't have to have perfect scores. A lot of the programs will let you go down to as low as a 580. So don't be afraid. It all starts with a conversation. So you have these new buyers out there. They're not going to be affected by the loan level pricing adjustments. There's a million grants. There's all these vehicles that we can get someone into a home. So what do you say to the people that are, just sitting a little bit scared, but they're getting hit with these giant rent letters that's also driving the millennials, like what? There's 43%, 43 million of them that are flooding this market right now.
Yeah. I mean, it's teaching them how to build equity too, right? Mm-hmm. And turning how to make money for themselves in this whole thing. And a lot of times, so I got my nephew into a house, it's been 2 years now, but he called me, he was looking for a place to rent. So then I just went down this conversation of like, how much are you going to spend? Like, what is your budget? And he told me what his budget was, and I was like, "Well, why don't we look into seeing if you can buy?" And he's like, "Well, I don't have that much saved." I'm like, "Well, let's not worry about that. Let's figure this whole thing out." So we ended up doing the MSHDA loan for him. Mm-hmm. We did the whole thing, got him into a condo. Now he's young, but he doesn't want to cut grass. He doesn't want to do the snow. He just wants to. So we got him into a condo. He's super happy. But again, it goes back to that knowledge piece. They just don't know. The assumption is, well, I have to have 20% down, and I have to have all this cash saved, and I can't do this, but I can spend $1,500 a month.
Yeah, but how does he know unless he talks to you about it or talks to somebody knowledgeable? You got to make that call. You have to reach out. You've got to talk to somebody that really knows, has been down that path 2, 3, 4, 5,000 times before.
Yeah. Because it comes back to us too about asking more questions.
Yeah.
Right. We have to ask more questions because it's like I always compare it to the doctor. If you go to the doctor and see my finger hurts, they don't just give you medicine. They say, does it hurt when you do this, or when it points? Does it hurt when it's cold or when it's hot? Like, that's our job now.
Yeah.
Is I have to ask those questions to get those answers out of somebody.
Well, people don't know what they don't know.
Right,
and
exactly.
There's a huge blanket over financial literacy. I feel like there's just a lot of people that just don't understand money, how it works, or even when it comes to buying houses, but it all starts with that conversation. And, whether it's now or 5 years from now, we're not here to sell you, like you say, like we're here to help you. So whether it's year or 5 years from now, start the conversation, because a lot of people think they don't qualify when they truly do. Like you just gave a perfect example of that, because there's a million programs out there that will give you literally free money, because what all these changes are really to help these first time buyers coming in.
Yeah.
I think one of the things that we run into, and I'm looking at one of the questions that just got thrown at me. If you're camera shy, go ahead and send me a message through my Insta.
Kurt will take all your calls.
At Curtis Shewell. I'll take all your calls right here on my
on his phone.
But they're lighting up. I've now got like 5 more because of that one we just did.
Yeah.
But here's a question somebody said, and this is a simple one on the real estate side. They said, "Well, Kurt, you know the answer, so why don't you ask or tell everybody what's the average sales that a real estate agent has?" Well, this goes back to your point of having these conversations with people who've done it 5,000 times. The reality is the average real estate agent in the greatest market in history, the last 2.5, almost 3 years, the average agent only sold 8 homes. The typical market, they only sell 6 in a year. That means an average real estate agent only sells 1 house every other month. This isn't something they're very good at. Now, I'm not dogging agents. I love my agents. So then they said, tell them to get on your coaching. That's the first thing they said. Yeah. And they said, it's amazing. So what we do is we coach agents for free, every single morning, 7:30 in the morning. We coach them for 45 minutes, making sure they understand that they have to ask the right questions to the client. It's not that the agents are bad. It's just they don't know the questions to ask the client. So what happens is they start talking at the clients, and then the client is looking for something else. So when you were talking, Becky, a second ago, the client, if you're a person looking to buy a house, or you're thinking about the market, make sure that the person you're talking to is providing the value to you that you want. They're just not stating facts at you. I can sing songs and send facts at you all day, but it doesn't mean I know what I'm doing, right? I need to make sure I'm connecting to you. When Jimmy talked about the experience, I need to provide you that world-class service.
Yeah,
right?
I'm all about that. It's not 5-star, it's world-class.
Yeah, it's not 5-star, it's world-class. 5-star can be a bunch of facts. Facts tell, stories sell. And you need to make sure that I know what your story is, because then I can help you get where you want to go. It's not about one size fits all. Same with you guys. You take every single mortgage separately. It's free. You'll work through it. You'll pull the credit to see where they're at, because the credit's going to be the first place to start, guys. Don't be afraid to let them pull your credit, because they're going to be able to tell you these are the different platforms that it puts you in. Maybe you're better off than you think. Maybe your credit's not as bad as you think. Maybe there's a program that'll fit you even with a credit
Oftentimes
situation.
that's the case. Yeah. People think that they have terrible credit, and they don't have as bad a credit as they think they do. But then we'll give them the options. Becky will go out, they'll give options, and then they get to pick.
Yes.
We're not selling them or telling them what they should do. We're presenting the options, and we're doing the math.
Yeah.
If you're going to be here 7 to 12 years, this is the best program for you. If you're going to be here 3 to 5 years, this is the best program for you. We'll do the math for you. You get to pick. We don't tell you.
Here's an example. My father, right, 82 years old, right, handsome young man, of course.
I'm sure.
He bought himself a new truck, right? He gets this new pickup truck. Then he tells me, I'm literally last night, he's down in Florida right now. I'm talking to him last night on the phone, and he says, Kurt, I just got my thing from my credit company, and my credit score went down. I'm freaking out. I said, well, what do you mean it went down? He says, yeah, I bought that truck, and oh, my God, I took a massive hit on my credit. I said, well, what's your credit at, Dad? Right? So I'm imagining some crazy stuff, right?
Yeah.
He goes, yeah, it's down to 789.
Yeah, right.
And I'm like, Dad, it's A+ credit. He's like, no, I was over 800. Oh, my God.
He's a very competitive individual.
But again, it's because he doesn't know.
Right.
He doesn't know 789 is in the top 1% of credit scores in the country.
Yeah,
right?
anything over 760, you're good to go, and even 740 in the mortgage land, because how we look at things is totally different. But also what you're seeing on your free app is not what we actually see as far as your credit pulls. And I can't believe that was the fastest hour ever. Go ahead, Jimmy.
I know. Yeah, this is crazy. I need to go. We got to do this.
Thank
again.
you for
We can
coming.
do 2 more
I want to
hours.
be on your podcast.
Yeah, we're coming. We invited ourselves to the podcast. Listen, I'm always clapping for you boys. I think what you're doing is great. I love that we're going to leave this industry better than we found it. And you're always welcome in our house, always. So this has been the Hardcore
Love
Mortgage
you guys.
Show.
All right,
For
love you
Becky
guys. Thank
Alley,
you.
Kurt Shewell, Jimmy Nelson, and Mr. Harry Glanz.
With Becky Alley.
Hey.
All right, we will see you next week. Same bat time, same bat channel.
Thanks.
Thanks, guys. Thanks again.